Welcome to my cozy corner of the internet. I'm Mayastar, and today's article is titled Narcissistic Abuse and Self-Addiction, a Guide for Empaths and Sensitive Souls. This article looks at the toxic relationships that can form between empaths and narcissists. We look at the differences in motivation and explore ways to move on from self-limiting patterns of behavior in order to find healing and happiness. If you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing and share this page with your friends. Listen to the end for my recommendations for your next step and receive special offers for Mayastar courses by joining the Mayastar mailing list at mayastar.net. And because your engagement really helps me out, if you like, share, subscribe or comment today, I hope and intend that you will be blessed with bountiful beneficence this week. May brilliance, beauty and abundance abound. And now, let's explore Narcissistic Abuse and Self-Addiction, a Guide for Empaths and Sensitive Souls. Narcissistic personality traits are common to everyone. We have all experienced moments where we thought or acted in a way that, looking back, was selfish, manipulative or dishonorable. But that's where narcissistic traits differ from narcissistic pathology. Someone who has narcissistic personality disorder has those traits as their default setting. They don't look back as an observer of themselves and feel guilt or regret over their actions. For a non-narcissist, being selfish or occasionally underhand or dishonest can certainly be toxic to others. But it's also toxic to ourselves because we recognize that our actions don't reflect our intentions. Those negative traits may reflect our need to create stability in our lives or may reveal our inability to speak up for ourselves. In most people, such behaviors leave us feeling upset with ourselves, so we ultimately learn from our mistakes. We make the changes we need to and try to heal from whatever created the vulnerability in the first place. In that sense, we can consider our mistakes essential for our growth. It's only the discomfort we feel when we act out of accordance with ourselves that motivates us to exceed our limitations. When you're on a healing journey, seeking out your unconscious motivations and looking for the places you need to heal is part of the process. For those who are afflicted with narcissistic personality disorder, their narcissistic traits are not just mistakes they make on the healing journey. Their mistakes don't motivate them to change because they're not able to ever admit to making a mistake. You'll often notice they have excuses dressed up as reasons for everything that goes wrong in their lives, and often it's other people or external circumstances that provide them with their get-out-of-jail-free card in their minds. Real narcissists don't have the capacity for self-examination. They lack the depth to develop the kind of self-awareness that can lead to healing. And what's more, they don't think there's anything wrong with them. They look like adults, but psychologically, they're always living through the terrible twos. Relationships with narcissists, whether romantic, friendships, family connections, or professional contacts, always create problems. But the good news is, energy vampires like narcissists are like any other vampire. They can only get to you if you let them in. Empaths and sensitive people tend to be more vulnerable to narcissists and the abuse that they perpetrate because empaths are receptive to the energy and emotions of those around them. Spending too much time around narcissists or those with prevalent narcissistic traits can change the way the empath feels, thinks, and behaves in ways that make them more appealing to the narcissist. A healthy ego is part of our psychological protection. A healthy ego gives you a sense of self, more self-esteem, and the motivation to look after yourself. Many empaths neglect to develop a healthy ego, and this increases their vulnerability around narcissists. Those who are genuinely narcissists have all of their consciousness invested into their ego. They are one-dimensional in that sense and don't experience the rich inner life that an empath does. That's not psychologically healthy, but neither is it healthy to neglect the ego and invest all of our consciousness into the ephemeral or emotional without taking steps to make sure we are able to protect ourselves. As an empath, you need to remember that your ego is involved in your self-care because it's your ego that creates boundaries. Those boundaries exist on an energetic level, as well as in a practical sense. Many empaths' vulnerability derives from their lack of boundaries, so learning to manage life more effectively means learning how to create boundaries and then maintain them. When an empath and a narcissist are connected, the narcissist is continuously trying to fill in the blanks that the empath needs in order to connect with the world in the ways that feel right to them. An empath's energy tends to be very open and very expansive, whereas the narcissist's energy tends to be very rigid and doesn't extend beyond their ego. Even when a narcissist is acting out or being abusive, their motivation is usually a perceived threat to their ego or some kind of damage to the ego, such as the criticism of another person or a mistake they have made, and the empath runs into a problem by evaluating the behavior of the narcissist as if their true motivation is good, but they're expressing it badly. They are not. They know what they are doing, they just don't know or care why they are doing it. Pathologically giving people the benefit of the doubt is something empaths have to grapple with in order to protect themselves effectively. The fact is, not everyone deserves the benefit of the doubt, and even if the person you're finding challenging isn't an outright narcissist, if they have narcissistic traits that they're not trying to resolve, they're not ready to heal, and there's nothing you can do to heal them. Enabling their bad behavior doesn't make you compassionate, loving, or kind. It makes you an accessory to their crimes. A way to understand this phenomenon is to think about people who are currently experiencing addiction. I want to use that as an example because what one person thinks of as an addiction, another person might not. It can be very subjective, and addiction is usually much more about compulsive behavior that comes from unconscious and unhealed parts of ourselves than it is about whatever the object of our obsession is. Addiction could be to overeating, substance abuse, toxic relationships, exercise, etc. Occasional indulgence is not the same as feeling or being unable to stop. When someone is experiencing addiction, their life can feel very fragile, and often, in trying to manage unmanageable feelings that derive from their high sensitivity, they can start to appear insensitive and selfish. If an addiction is bad enough and goes on long enough, the addict may start to appear quite narcissistic. And that's what life is like for actual narcissists. They operate like someone who is going through addiction, but their addiction is to their image or ego. They are completely invested in it and will lie, cheat, steal, or destroy your life in order to maintain their mask. However, there is one important difference here: self-awareness. The addict is usually motivated by a need to get away from painful feelings or trauma, and when they're ready, they can be helped to resolve that negative stimulus in a more progressive way through counseling and other therapies. We can understand that when someone's in that kind of struggle, they can only be helped when they're ready. You can't force an addict to heal just by taking their drug away, because the addict needs to be ready to deal with their feelings. Otherwise, the addiction might just transfer to a new habit. And until they are ready to address the deeper feelings, the only way forward is to support them, but with very, very strong boundaries. For example, making it clear that you love and support them, but you will not love and support their addiction. If they want help to change, you will help them, but you won't help them to stay the same. Perhaps that person won't ever heal, but perhaps if they want to, your healthy boundaries will mean that one day they have someone they can talk to who sees them as separate from their addiction. For a narcissist, though, the addiction is themselves. They don't see themselves as separate from it at all. They have no perspective that allows them to step out of themselves to appreciate the bigger picture. That's why misguided attempts to help them or support them drain the empath and reinforce the narcissist's negative behavior. Narcissists operate like people who are actively in their addiction, but where an addiction to food would have consequences for your appearance and health that might motivate you to change, or where an addiction to alcohol might lead to physical disease that forces you to address the issue, addiction to yourself as a narcissist doesn't create the kinds of consequences that can motivate a narcissist to change and heal. For them, the meaning of life is their addiction to self, and everything and everyone else around them is a runner-up. They see the damage they do to others, but they don't empathize, sympathize, or care enough for it to mean anything at all to them. So what can you do? The main thing you can do is educate yourself so that you recognize the red flags of narcissistic behavior and learn to operate from the position of not enabling their addiction to self. Work on your own issues by developing your confidence and self-esteem so that you can progress your own healing journey. Recognize your vulnerabilities, because that's the part you can do something about. You can't change how a narcissist acts, but you can change how you respond. Learn to create boundaries and recognize that not everyone you meet is deserving of your time and attention. If you're a people pleaser, this can be difficult, but recognizing that your tendency to validate those around you and to prioritize their feelings over your own might be a bit self-destructive can help you to start making small changes that lead to big differences. There are also some great energy healing modalities that can be helpful for empaths learning to manage their spiritual gift of empathy. Archangel Gabriel's empath encoding, Dark Moon Mother protection, Goddess Diana's mirror shield activation, Light Sanctuary activation. Additionally, magical options like the Killing Moon Karmic Reversal 30-day Ritual Intensive can be used to eliminate negative karmic bonds. Karmic bonds are those energetic ties that connect us with people, places, things, memories, habits, and trauma. They are reinforced by us and by those around us. People who are very narcissistic create a lot of karmic bonds that deplete our energy, and when we lack boundaries, we tend to reinforce those harmful energetic connections. This phenomenon is discussed more in another article on this channel. Energetic protection from narcissists, energy vampires, and black magic. Home, healing, and boundaries. If you feel drawn to pursue your spiritual path and progress your healing journey with energy work, you can find all of the courses mentioned in this article and over 100 attunement-based energy healing courses on the Mayastar website at mayastar.net. I provide individual support by email for all students and personally prepare all attunements using the Orb of Life method, which allows my students to receive them wherever they are in the world. I'd like to thank you for spending some time with me today. I hope you're leaving this video suffused with good vibes and great ideas. On this channel I share my week ahead spiritual guidance and mystical musings for the collective, meditation soundscapes and energy healing articles to inspire and uplift you on your spiritual path. Why not take a moment to peruse the rest of this channel to discover more of my energy healing articles and relaxing meditations for some additional spiritual sustenance and magical motivation. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll find a great video recommendation for your next step in the cards at the end of this video. You can also follow me to receive daily spiritual guidance on social media. You'll find links in the description of this video for my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, podcast and more. Links to all my latest offerings can be found on the Mayastar website at mayastar.net. I upload inspiring spiritual content for you 3 times a week, so please come back soon. In the meantime, I wish you peace, prosperity and progress in all you do, with blessings.